Good afternoon. It is December 21st, 2021, and today we're really mostly looking at an uptrend day today. About an hour after the open, it was just all uphill, and unfortunately not a lot of good, or at least the way I saw it, not a lot of good opportunities to enter. And now that I'm looking here, I think I was considering entering on this large bar right here, but it was just so large, and going into highs, but looks pretty good. I think maybe I had these range highs drawn here, and maybe that's what made me a little timid. We'll take a look though. But yeah, it was just ranging in the overnight and towards the open. Actually, I take that back. We had this two legs up in the overnight, and then we formed this congestion. We had a feeling, I had a feeling when this congestion broke out counter trend, I thought we would break back in it, but never really happened. But anyway, first trade that I see that I would consider is right here. Looks like 5:54 a.m. and it's just really it's just like a higher low, and the reason I marked it is because this looks congested and it's a higher low, and it looks like we'll break back into congestion. All you get out that is a scalp though, and that's aggressive because all these dojis right here, 3 dojis in a row, this is kind of a doji too right here, so it's definitely aggressive, but it gets you a scalp. We come back, test this low once right here. You get a first failed second entry, but this is just back and forth on both sides of the EMA, so you might be a little uncomfortable taking that. There are room to the highs though, and this looks like 1-2 legs up. You might be thinking that we're gonna get another leg up or something. That's definitely tempting. Let me see. Yeah, especially if you draw that. That's pretty tempting. And it doesn't look, I gotta at least give that a green arrow. But you see, we test this level of resistance. I mean, it's hard to see. I guess maybe I should have my range drawn like that. We form this level of resistance. Well, really it's from this range, so we test that once, twice, and that's another reason this makes this trade a little it would make me uneasy, because I'd be expecting to come down to these lows again, but you can see it bounces a little. We test it again and it fails, so you can see we get a nice leg down there. I think though, once you get this double test with trend, because with the bias, I should say, the bias is up. When you get that double test, fairly bullish bar, and prices are on both sides of the EMA, so you don't want to worry about that too much. I think you go long there. And you can see this is a nice short trap right here, very bearish bar, and it takes one tick lower and get a leg up. And then finally on that, what is that, a first, second, third, fourth test? That's like a quadruple test, very bearish bar. It's also a second entry short. I think you can take that. Looks like there's room back to the EMA as well. And so we form this spike and channel down, and you get a first, second entry with a nice bearish bar off the EMA, pretty much off the trend line too. That'll get you a scalp. And unfortunately this looks a little congested, but it's near that trend channel, so I like that. And then we just start going sideways, and I actually got trapped going long here, but here's the thing is, at this point, shortly after the open, we're trending down, and we haven't made the new low from this channel. This was definitely a trend down. So I think it's just too early to go long. Yeah, the bias was up overnight, but that was too eager, and I wish I didn't take that. And all this is just sideways. I don't think you want to go long there because we just had one swing above the EMA. We're not sure if the EMA will hold this time. We have a breakout counter trend, and that fails and rockets down, but there's no way to enter that. And this is a second entry short right here, so you might consider that. I just don't like how it's a bit away from the EMA and it's congestion, and doesn't even fill your order right away, so you'd probably back out of that anyway. Get a lower high here, but that doesn't set up. And when we come back and test this price level right here with something that looks like a second entry, you can see there's a hidden second entry right there, with that being the first entry. I like that setup. And then you get a true second entry short right here. So I like that too. At this point, this looked like a range. So I like the way that's set up. But it turns out to be an uptrend. We start going higher. And yeah, you might look at this failure, but I was thinking short at this time. So I mean, maybe why don't I go ahead and mark that? But I just didn't like going into that level of resistance after this big leg down. But once we make this bounce, that's when I was feeling convinced. But that's just a higher low. First entry, that's actually a second entry right there. So that's even more reason to go long right there too. If you didn't get in right here, you might get in right here. It doesn't even trigger. I just noticed that it doesn't even trigger until this bar. So that's like a second entry long. This is like a higher low. I don't think I was at the beginning of this video. I was saying maybe this looked like I remembered it. I was considering entering here, but no, I was not. I don't know what I could have been thinking about. Then we come up here and notice how we form this resistance at the opening price here. Test it again. Test it again. Resistance. I had a trend channel, small trend channel drawn right here. And so that spiked up. I thought that was like an overshoot. We tested one more time, and I actually went short here and got trapped, thinking we had a triple test. But you want those triple tests to be with the bias. The bias is up at this point. So you don't want to be doing that. So knowing that and thinking about that now in hindsight, this is a great trap. I'm not sure you can enter that because that's going into these highs. But that's exactly what happened. People like me thinking like a triple test, bearish bar, we'll go back to the EMA. But we just came from the EMA. So, and look, that's another sign, is we bounced off the EMA. So I was thinking about that, but I was like, I wasn't too concerned because really we had been ranging, but the bias here is up. The bias is here short term is up because we just shot up that strong leg up. And the bias long term is up because we traded up in the overnight. So I think that's why I got trapped there. Come up here, you get a first entry, second entry long. And I think at this point we know this thing's going higher. We're over the overnight highs. This leg up was just insane. So was this leg up. So I think you take that. And if you don't take that, you get a higher low right here with a really good signal bar. And really, I don't like anything else. Here's a nice trap. And there's a couple reasons why you might get trapped here. and it is a second entry long, and it also looks like counter trend, potential failed breakout. That's how it looks that way to me, of congestion, I mean. Counter trend failed breakout of congestion. But what I was thinking is just simply you want to be waiting until it comes back to the trend line. So this is the trend line from earlier, this larger trend channel, but even in a short-term trend channel, I have this yellow channel right here drawn off these two lows like we had a spike in channel, and look, we're not back to those lows. And maybe you might think about it like this too, is that look how far away from the EMA we are for, you know, a few swings. 1, 2, okay, so 2 swings. We didn't even touch that EMA. So, you know, taking it off the EMA, well, prices aren't bouncing off the EMA right now. So it's not as important. That's what it looks like to me anyway. You might enter this. This looks really aggressive, but it looks good because it looks like a failed breakout of congestion. But if you don't do that, there's a failed second entry short. The only reason I like this is in congestion, so you're not usually supposed to take these, but the reason I like this is because we just bounced off that trend channel. So there's reasons to think about that. And then we were just going sideways, and we broke both of these channels, the longer term one. But you can see there's a leg of correction, leg of correction, leg of correction. I don't think there's anything you can enter. You don't want to go short in here. Look at this short trap right here. That sets up very well. If this, by the way, if this bar was bullish, maybe you would enter that, because this looks like a midline. But you see this first failed second entry short right here. I don't think you can enter that because look at how much resistance you're going long into, but that clearly trapped a lot of shorts. So that's all I saw really. Now we have this. We're approaching the close, so we'll take a look at these trades I took. I did all right on the MES. This morning, but I wasn't too crazy about the 2 trades I took, or one of them I liked, but the other I wasn't too crazy about. So let's take a look. I don't want to take my first trade on an aggressive entry, and that's what I did here. So I had this range drawn, we break out, and then we get this very bullish bar, and I just treated it as a failed breakout. And had I had these measured moves drawn, I would have felt more confident in this entry, because it's like it found support at the measured move, but I did not have that drawn. But that's where I went long, and that is, I mean, that's how I want to be entering on ranges, is these failed breakouts. But this is aggressive. I'd prefer my first trade of the day to be a second entry or a failure. But that did work out. And then I took this as a failure. I'm not crazy about this. First entry, failed second entry short. Sets up well and it gets a couple points, but I just look, it looks like a range, and we're not supposed to be taking failures in ranges. You can see that. We're going back and forth on both sides of the EMA. So not crazy about that, but you know, it worked out. Just be patient. Wait for prices to be trending down like this, and look, you get a first, second entry. Look how much that would have probably got you a runner and several points. So just be patient. What time was that? 20 minutes after the open. You get a beautiful setup. So just be patient. Now let's take a look at the trades I took on this MES, or I mean on the ES. And here I did not do well. Yeah, so I took this failure thinking that this was a failure, but now that I'm looking at it, look at all these dojis in this area, these dojis right here. Look at all the overlap right there. So that definitely looks like congestion, this area. And so when we break out, I should be expecting a failure 1, but I shouldn't be going long because we haven't made a new low, and this was a nice trend down. So yeah, that was rough. Went short here. I'm okay with this one. Second entry short. Even though it reversed on me right there. Yeah, I'm okay with that one. And then this one I went short. And yeah, this is counter trend. Don't take those double, triple tests against the bias. And so I got hit pretty hard there. So that's what I saw for today. We'll see if tomorrow and Thursday has volume. But I hope everyone had a good day, and I'll be back tomorrow.